I'm in a pretty messed up situation right now and could use some advice. I've been married to Rebecca for 8 years and I thought we had a good thing going. We both have decent jobs, no kids yet, and we've been talking about buying a house together. Everything seemed fine until about 3 months ago when things started to feel off. Rebecca started working late more often, always with some excuse about a big project or her boss needing her to stay. At first, I didn't think much of it. I mean, we all have to put in extra hours sometimes, right? But then she started getting all secretive with her phone, always keeping it face down and taking calls in another room. I tried to brush it off, telling myself I was just being paranoid. But man, I wish I'd trusted my gut sooner. The real kicker came last weekend. Rebecca told me she had to attend a work event on Saturday night. Said it was some kind of team-building thing and partners weren't invited. I was a little bummed, but whatever, right? I figured I'd just chill at home, maybe catch up on some shows. Then my buddy Sandy called. He was having a small get-together at his place, which happens to be just around the corner from where Rebecca's work event was supposed to be. I thought, why not? I could swing by, have a few beers, and maybe even surprise Rebecca afterward and offer her a ride home. Man, was I in for a surprise, all right. I showed up at Sandy's around 9 p.m. and we were all hanging out in his backyard. That's when I heard it. Rebecca's laugh. It was coming from the house next door where there was clearly a much bigger party going on. I felt my stomach drop. I told Sandy I needed to check something out and walked over to the neighbor's fence. And there she was, my wife, drink in hand, laughing it up with her boss. No team-building event in sight, just a regular house party. I stood there frozen, watching Rebecca through the gaps in the fence. She was wearing that little black dress I bought her for our anniversary, the one she said was too revealing for work events. Her boss, this guy named Tom, had his hand on the small of her back, way too low to be professional. I felt like I was going to be sick. Part of me wanted to storm in there and confront them, but I couldn't move. I just kept watching, hoping I was misunderstanding something, anything. Then I saw it. Tom leaned in and whispered something in Rebecca's ear. She giggled, fucking giggled like a schoolgirl, and then they started walking towards the house. As they passed through the patio doors, I saw Tom's hand slide down to grab her ass. That's when I lost it. I practically vaulted over the fence, not caring who saw me. I burst into the house, pushing past confused partygoers. I could hear Sandy calling after me, but I didn't care. I was a man on a mission. I found them in the kitchen. Rebecca was perched on the counter, her legs wrapped around Tom's waist. They were making out like teenagers, completely oblivious to the world around them. Until I cleared my throat, that is. "What the fuck, Rebecca?" I shouted, my voice cracking with anger and disbelief. They jumped apart like they'd been electrocuted. Rebecca's eyes went wide, a mix of shock and guilt plastered across her face. Tom, that piece of shit, actually had the audacity to smirk. "Oh, honey, I can explain," Rebecca started, her voice sickly sweet. But I was having none of it. "Explain what? How you're not at a work event? How you're practically fucking your boss at a party?" I was shaking, my fists clenched so tight my nails were digging into my palms. Rebecca hopped off the counter, stumbling a bit. She was clearly drunk. "Baby, it's not what it looks like. Tom and I were just what? Practicing CPR?" I spat out. The sarcasm was dripping from my voice. "Save your bullshit, Rebecca. I saw everything." Tom decided to pipe up then. "Look, man, why don't we all calm down and—" I cut him off with a glare that could have melted steel. "You shut the fuck up! I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to my wife, my cheating, lying wife." The kitchen had gone dead silent. I could feel everyone's eyes on us, but I didn't care. My whole world was imploding, and all I could focus on was the woman in front of me, the woman I thought I knew. Rebecca's face suddenly hardened. The guilt vanished, replaced by a cold, defensive look. "Fine," she snapped. "You want the truth? I've been sleeping with Tom for months, and you know what? He satisfies me in ways you never could." Her words hit me like a physical blow. I staggered back, feeling like I'd been punched in the gut. The room started spinning, and I had to grip the kitchen counter to steady myself. "How could you?" I choked out. 8 years, Rebecca. 8 fucking years we've been married." She rolled her eyes, looking annoyed rather than remorseful. "Oh, don't be so dramatic. It's just sex. It's not like I love him or anything." Tom looked a bit taken aback at that, but he kept his mouth shut. Smart move on his part. I laughed bitterly. "Just sex? Just sex? Are you fucking kidding me?" You've been lying to me for months, sneaking around behind my back, and you have the nerve to tell me it's just sex? Rebecca shrugged, reaching for her drink on the counter. Whatever. You were always too focused on your job anyway. A girl has needs, you know. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. This cold, callous woman in front of me. Who the hell was she? Because she sure as hell wasn't the woman I married. I was seething with rage, my vision blurring with angry tears. My job? Are you serious right now? I've been working my ass off to save for the house you wanted. Rebecca scoffed, taking a sip of her drink. Please, we both know you love your precious career more than me. Tom here actually appreciates me. Tom, who had been awkwardly standing there, tried to sidle away, but I wasn't having it. I pointed at him, my fingers shaking. Don't you dare move, asshole. You're just as responsible for this shit show. He held up his hands in mock surrender. Look, man, I didn't know she was married at first. By the time I found out, well, it was too good to stop. I saw red. Without thinking, I lunged at Tom, my fist connecting with his jaw. He stumbled back, crashing into a group of partygoers. Chaos erupted in the kitchen as people tried to pull us apart. Rebecca was screaming, but I couldn't make out the words over the ringing in my ears. I managed to land another punch before someone dragged me off him. As I was pulled away, I saw Rebecca rushing to Tom's side, fussing over him. That sight, more than anything else, made me realize it was over. My marriage, my trust, everything, shattered in a single night. I shrugged off the hands holding me back and stormed out of the house, ignoring the shocked whispers and stares from the other party-goers. The cool night air hit me like a slap to the face, bringing me back to reality. I found myself back in Sandy's yard, my chest heaving as I tried to catch my breath. Sandy was there in an instant, concern etched on his face. Dude, what the hell happened in there? He asked, handing me a beer. I took it gratefully, chugging half of it in one go. My wife, I spat out, is fucking her boss. Has been for months, apparently. Sandy's eyes widened in shock. Holy shit, man, I'm so sorry. That's fucked up. I nodded, feeling numb. The adrenaline was wearing off, leaving me feeling hollow and lost. Yeah, it is. I don't know what to do now. Just then, I heard Rebecca's shrill voice calling my name. She was stumbling across Sandy's lawn, mascara streaking down her face. Baby, please, let me explain, she cried out. I turned to Sandy. I can't deal with this right now. Can you keep her away from me? Sandy nodded grimly. Yeah, man, I got you. Go home, get some rest. Well, figure this out tomorrow. I muttered a thanks and took off down the street, Rebecca's pleading voice fading behind me. I had no idea where I was going, but I knew I couldn't be anywhere near her right now. I ended up walking for hours, aimlessly wandering the streets of our neighborhood. My mind was a jumbled mess of memories and questions. How long had this really been going on? Were there others before Tom? Had our entire marriage been a lie? Around 3 a.m., I found myself back at our apartment. I stood outside for a good 10 minutes, debating whether to go in. Finally, exhaustion won out, and I used my key to enter. The living room light was on, and there was Rebecca, sitting on the couch. Her makeup was smeared, hair a mess, still wearing that damn black dress. She jumped up when she saw me. Oh, thank God, you're home, she said, rushing towards me. Baby, we need to talk. I can explain everything. I held up a hand, stopping her in her tracks. No, I said, my voice hoarse from all the yelling earlier. Not now. I can't even look at you right now. Her face crumpled. Please, it was a mistake. I love you, not Tom. We can work this out. I laughed bitterly. Work it out? Are you kidding me? You've been fucking your boss for months, Rebecca. Months! And you had the nerve to blame me for it. How the hell are we supposed to work that out? She started crying again. Big crocodile tears that once upon a time would have broken my heart. Now, they just made me feel sick. I'm going to sleep in the spare room, I said, moving past her. We'll figure out what to do tomorrow, but right now, I can't be around you. As I closed the door to the spare room, I heard her sob, but all I felt was a hollow emptiness where my heart used to be. I barely slept that night, tossing and turning on the lumpy mattress in the spare room. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Rebecca with Tom, laughing at me, mocking our marriage. When morning finally came, I dragged myself out of bed feeling like I'd been hit by a truck. I could hear Rebecca moving around in the kitchen, probably making coffee like it was just another day. I steeled myself and walked out to face her. She looked as bad as I felt, still in yesterday's clothes, her eyes puffy from crying. "Hey," she said softly, offering me a mug of coffee. "Can we talk now?" I took the coffee, but didn't drink it. "Yeah, I guess we have to." We sat at the kitchen table, an awkward silence stretching between us. Finally, Rebecca spoke. "I'm so sorry," she began. "What I did was unforgivable, I know that, but I swear it didn't mean anything. It was just a stupid mistake." I scoffed. "A mistake? Rebecca, you've been sleeping with him for months. That's not a mistake. That's a choice. Multiple choices, actually." She flinched at my words. I know. I felt neglected. You were always working late, and Tom was there, and—" "Don't you dare try to blame this on me," I snapped. "I was working late to save for our future, the future you wanted, the house, the kids, all of it, and while I was doing that, you were screwing your boss." Rebecca started crying again. "I'm sorry. I don't know what else to say. I love you, not Tom. Can't we try to work this out?" I stared at her, trying to see the woman I married, but all I saw was a stranger wearing my wife's face. I took a deep breath, trying to calm the storm of emotions raging inside me. "Work it out? Rebecca, you lied to my face for months. You betrayed our vows, our trust, everything we built together. And last night when I caught you, you didn't even have the decency to be sorry. You blamed me, remember?" She winced, looking away. "I was drunk and scared. I didn't mean those things." "But you said them," I countered. "And drunk or not, that's how you really feel, isn't it? That I neglected you? That I love my job more than you?" Rebecca didn't answer, which was answer enough. I continued. "And what about Tom? You told him it was just sex, that you didn't love him. So what? I'm supposed to believe that you love me when you can so casually use another person like that?" "It's complicated," she mumbled. I laughed bitterly. "No, it's not. It's actually very simple. You cheated, you lied, you broke us." She reached across the table, trying to take my hand. I pulled away. "Please," she begged. "I'll do anything. Couples therapy, I'll quit my job, whatever it takes. I can't lose you." I stood up, unable to sit there any longer. "You already lost me, Rebecca. The moment you decided to sleep with Tom, you lost me." As I walked back to the spare room, I heard her call out, "So that's it? You're just giving up on us?" I turned back, feeling a surge of anger. "No, Rebecca, you gave up on us. I'm just acknowledging it." I spent the next few days in a daze, alternating between numbness and rage. I called in sick to work, unable to face the outside world. Rebecca kept trying to talk to me, to explain, to beg for forgiveness, but I couldn't bear to hear it. On the third day, I finally decided I needed to get out of the apartment. The walls were closing in on me, and Rebecca's constant presence was suffocating. I packed a bag and told her I was going to stay with Sandy for a while. "How long is a while?" she asked, her voice small and scared. I shrugged. "I don't know, until I can figure out what I want to do next." As I was about to leave, she grabbed my arm. "I love you," she said, tears in her eyes. "Please don't forget that." I gently removed her hand. "The problem is, Rebecca, I don't know if I believe that anymore." Sandy welcomed me with open arms and a cold beer. We sat on his porch, and I finally let it all out. The anger, the betrayal, the crushing disappointment. He listened without judgment, offering support and the occasional, "That's fucked up, man." After I finished venting, Sandy asked, "So what are you gonna do now?" I took a long swig of beer. "Honestly, I have no fucking clue. How do you come back from something like this?" Sandy nodded thoughtfully. "You might not, bro, and that's okay too. You gotta do what's right for you now." As the sun set, I realized Sandy was right. For the first time in years, I needed to think about what I wanted, not what Rebecca and I wanted as a couple. The thought was both terrifying and strangely liberating. The next few weeks were a blur of emotions and tough decisions. I stayed at Sandy's place, trying to sort out my feelings and figure out my next move. Rebecca kept calling and texting, alternating between apologies, explanations, and accusations. I mostly ignored her, only responding with short, factual messages when necessary. About a week into my stay at Sandy's, I got a call from Tom's wife, Sarah. Turns out she had no idea about the affair until the night of the party. She was devastated and furious and wanted to meet up to compare notes. We met at a coffee shop downtown. Sarah looked as wrecked as I felt, with dark circles under her eyes and a haunted expression. I'm so sorry, she said as soon as we sat down. I had no idea Tom was capable of this. I nodded, feeling a strange kinship with this woman I barely knew. Neither did I about Rebecca. Guess we both married lying cheaters, huh? Sarah managed a weak smile. Seems like it. Tom's begging for another chance, says it was a mistake and it'll never happen again. What about Rebecca? I sighed, running a hand through my hair. Same song and dance. She wants to work it out, go to couples therapy, the whole 9 yards. I don't know if I can ever trust her again, you know? Sarah nodded, her eyes filling with tears. I know exactly what you mean. Every time Tom touches his phone, I wonder who he's texting. Every time he's late from work, I imagine him with her. It's torture. We spent the next couple of hours talking, sharing our pain and anger. It was cathartic, in a way, to talk to someone who truly understood what I was going through. As we were leaving, Sarah hugged me. Whatever you decide, she said, don't let anyone make you feel bad about it. You didn't ask for this. Her words stuck with me as I walked back to Sandy's place. I didn't ask for this, and maybe, just maybe, I didn't have to fix it either. After meeting with Sarah, I felt a shift in my perspective. I realized I had been so caught up in trying to understand why Rebecca cheated that I hadn't really considered what I wanted moving forward. I decided it was time to face Rebecca and have a real conversation about our future, or lack thereof. I texted her to meet me at a neutral location, a park we used to frequent when we were dating. When I arrived, Rebecca was already there, sitting on a bench. She looked terrible, like she hadn't slept in days. Part of me felt a pang of sympathy, but I quickly squashed it down. Hey, I said, sitting down next to her but maintaining a distance. Hi, she replied, her voice hoarse. Thanks for agreeing to meet me. I nodded, then dove right in. Rebecca, I've been doing a lot of thinking. About us. About what happened. About what I want for my future. She tensed up, clearly sensing where this was going. And? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. I took a deep breath. And I think it's over. I can't do this anymore. I can't be with someone I don't trust, someone who could hurt me so deeply and then try to blame me for it. Rebecca started to cry, reaching for my hand. This time I didn't pull away, but I didn't hold her hand either. Please, she begged. I know I messed up. I know I hurt you, but we can fix this. We can go to counseling. I'll quit my job. I'll do whatever it takes. I shook my head. That's just it, Rebecca. I don't want to fix this. I don't want to spend years trying to rebuild trust that you shattered in an instant. I deserve better than that. We both do. Her sobs grew louder, attracting concerned looks from passers-by. So that's it? 8 years of marriage and you're just throwing it away? I felt a flash of anger. No, Rebecca. You threw it away when you decided to sleep with Tom. I'm just acknowledging that it's broken beyond repair. Rebecca's face crumpled, a mix of grief and anger twisting her features. You're being so cold, she accused. Where's the man I married, the one who believed in forgiveness and second chances? I felt a surge of frustration. That man trusted his wife implicitly. That man believed in the sanctity of our marriage vows. You killed that man the moment you decided to cheat. She flinched at my words but pressed on. People make mistakes, you know. Are you saying you've never messed up? I shook my head, exasperated. There's a difference between making a mistake and making a series of deliberate choices to betray your partner. This wasn't a one-time thing, Rebecca. You lied to me for months. I know, and I'm sorry, she cried. How many times do I have to say it? I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I stood up, needing to put some physical distance between us. Sorry doesn't fix this. Sorry doesn't erase the image of you with Tom from my mind. Sorry doesn't rebuild trust. Rebecca stood too, her eyes blazing now. So that's it? You're not even willing to try? What happened to for better or for worse? I laughed bitterly. I think fucking your boss for months falls outside the scope of typical marital problems, don't you? She recoiled as if I'd slapped her. For a moment, we just stood there, the weight of everything unsaid hanging between us. Finally, I spoke again, my voice softer but resolute. I'm going to contact a lawyer tomorrow. I think it's best if we make this separation permanent. As I turned to walk away, I heard Rebecca call out, her voice breaking. I still love you, you know. I paused but didn't turn back. Maybe you do, I said, but love without trust and respect isn't enough. Goodbye, Rebecca. As I walked away, I felt a strange mix of sadness and relief. It was over, and while the road ahead was uncertain, I knew I'd made the right choice for myself. The next few months were a whirlwind of legal meetings, paperwork, and difficult decisions. I hired a divorce lawyer, a no-nonsense woman named Linda, who guided me through the process with efficiency and empathy. Rebecca initially contested the divorce, still clinging to the hope of reconciliation. But after a few tense meetings with our respective lawyers, she finally accepted that it was over. We managed to settle most of our affairs out of court, dividing our assets and debts as fairly as we could. The hardest part was going through our shared possessions. Each photo, each memento was a reminder of the life we'd built together, and the trust that had been shattered. I found myself oscillating between anger and nostalgia, sometimes wanting to burn everything, other times clutching onto items as if they could somehow preserve the good parts of our marriage. Throughout this process, I leaned heavily on my support system. Sandy was a rock, always there with a beer and a sympathetic ear. My parents, once they got over their initial shock, rallied around me. Even Sarah, Tom's wife, became an unexpected source of support. We'd meet for coffee occasionally, comparing notes on our divorce proceedings and offering each other encouragement. Work became my sanctuary. I threw myself into projects, staying late at the office not because I felt obligated to, but because it gave me purpose and distraction. My boss, noticing my increased productivity but also my obvious stress, suggested I take some time off. I declined, knowing that too much free time would only lead to more brooding. As the divorce proceedings dragged on, I started to feel the weight of it all. The constant negotiations, the reminders of betrayal, the pitying looks from friends and colleagues, it was all taking its toll. I knew I needed to do something to take care of myself, to start healing. That's when I decided to start seeing a therapist. It was time to confront my pain and start rebuilding my life, not as half of a couple, but as an individual. My first therapy session was both terrifying and liberating. Dr. Karen, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes and a no-nonsense attitude, listened as I poured out my story. She didn't offer platitudes or easy solutions, which I appreciated. "What do you want from these sessions?" she asked me at the end of our first meeting. I thought for a moment. "I want to stop feeling angry all the time. I want to trust again. I want to feel like myself again." She nodded. "Those are good goals. It won't be easy and it won't happen overnight, but we can work on that together." Over the next few weeks, Dr. Karen helped me navigate the storm of emotions I'd been suppressing. We talked about my anger, my fear, my shattered self-esteem. She gave me tools to cope with the waves of emotion that would hit me at unexpected moments. One session, she asked me a question that stuck with me. "Who were you before you were Rebecca's husband?" I realized I didn't really know anymore. I'd been Rebecca's boyfriend or Rebecca's husband for so long that I'd lost sight of who I was as an individual. That became our next focus, rediscovering myself. I started small. I joined a local gym, something I'd always wanted to do but never found the time for when I was married. I rekindled old friendships that had fallen by the wayside. I even signed up for a cooking class, determined to expand my culinary skills beyond microwave dinners. As the weeks turned into months, I started to feel lighter. The anger was still there, but it no longer consumed me. I could think about Rebecca without immediately seeing her with Tom. I could pass by our old favorite restaurant without feeling like I'd been punched in the gut. One day, about 6 months after that fateful party, I realized I had gone a whole day without thinking about Rebecca or the divorce. It wasn't a big, dramatic moment. I was just walking home from work, enjoying the sunset, when it hit me. I had made it through an entire day just being me, not a betrayed husband or a man going through divorce, just me. For the first time in months, I smiled a real, genuine smile. I wasn't healed. Dr. Karen had made it clear that healing is a process, not a destination, but I was getting there, one day at a time. As I continued to work on myself and navigate my new life, I found unexpected challenges and moments of growth. The divorce was finalized, and while it brought a sense of closure, it also forced me to confront the reality of my new status. Divorced at 35. One particularly difficult moment came when I had to attend a colleague's wedding. It was the first wedding I'd been to since the divorce, and I felt a mix of emotions I wasn't prepared for. Watching the couple exchange vows, I felt a pang of sadness for what I'd lost, but also a strange sense of relief. I realized I no longer envied their newlywed bliss because I knew the work and trust it took to maintain a marriage. During the reception, a well-meaning coworker asked if I was seeing anyone new. I fumbled through an awkward response, suddenly aware that I hadn't even considered dating again. The idea seemed both exciting and terrifying. I brought this up in my next therapy session with Dr. Karen. "It's normal to feel conflicted about dating after what you've been through," she assured me. "There's no rush. You'll know when you're ready." She suggested I focus on building platonic relationships first, to practice trust and vulnerability in a lower-stakes environment. Taking her advice, I joined a local book club and a hiking group. It felt good to connect with new people who didn't know me as the guy whose wife cheated on him. As I expanded my social circle, I found myself laughing more, enjoying life in a way I hadn't in years. I was rediscovering parts of myself that had been dormant during my marriage, and uncovering new interests and passions. One Saturday morning, as I was getting ready for a hike with my new group, I caught sight of myself in the mirror. I looked different. Not just physically, though the regular gym sessions had made a noticeable difference, but there was a lightness in my eyes that had been missing for a long time. I realized then that while the pain of Rebecca's betrayal would always be a part of my story, it no longer defined me. I was writing a new chapter, and for the first time in a long time, I was excited to see where it might lead. About a year after the divorce was finalized, I ran into Rebecca at a local coffee shop. It was bound to happen eventually in our small town, but it still caught me off guard. She looked different. Her hair was shorter, and she seemed thinner. For a moment, we just stared at each other, unsure of how to proceed. "Hi," she finally said, her voice small. "Hey," I replied, surprised by how calm I felt. There was an awkward pause before she spoke again. How have you been?" I considered my answer carefully. "I'm doing okay. Better, actually. You?" She nodded, not quite meeting my eyes. I'm getting there. I'm in therapy now, trying to work on myself." I felt a mix of emotions, a flicker of the old anger, but also a strange sense of relief. "That's good. I hope it helps." Another pause. Then Rebecca said, "I know it doesn't change anything, but I truly am sorry. For everything." I took a deep breath. A year ago, those words would have enraged me, or sent me into a spiral of pain. Now, I found I could accept them for what they were. An apology, nothing more, nothing less. "Thank you for saying that," I replied. "I hope you find what you're looking for." As I turned to leave, Rebecca called out, "You look good, by the way. Happy." I gave her a small smile. "I am. Take care, Rebecca." As I walked out of the coffee shop, I realized something profound. The encounter hadn't shaken me. I didn't feel the need to run home and dissect every word with Sandy or call Dr. Karen for an emergency session. I had faced my past, acknowledged it, and was able to walk away intact. That night, as I recounted the encounter to Sandy over beers, he asked, "So how do you feel about it?" I thought for a moment. Honestly, I feel free, like the last weight has been lifted off my shoulders. Sandy raised his bottle. "To freedom, then." I clinked my bottle against his. "To freedom, and to new beginnings." In the months that followed, I continued to grow and evolve. The encounter with Rebecca had been a turning point, showing me how far I'd come in my healing journey. I felt ready to take on new challenges, both personally and professionally. At work, I took on a leadership role in a major project, something I might have shied away from in the past. My newfound confidence shone through, and I found myself thriving in ways I never expected. In my personal life, I finally felt ready to dip my toes into the dating pool again. It was awkward at first, navigating dating apps and first-date conversations, but I approached it with honesty and openness, not hiding my past but not letting it define me either. I went on a few dates, some good, some not so good, but each one felt like a step forward, a small victory in rebuilding my ability to connect with others. Then, about 18 months after the divorce, I met someone. Her name was Emily, and we connected over our shared love of hiking and terrible puns. On our third date, I told her about my divorce and Rebecca's infidelity. I was nervous, but Emily listened with empathy and understanding. "Thank you for trusting me with that," she said when I finished. "I appreciate your honesty." As we continued to see each other, I found myself opening up more and more. With each shared secret, each vulnerable moment, I felt my capacity for trust growing. It wasn't always easy. There were moments of fear and doubt, but I used the tools Dr. Karen had given me to work through those feelings. Now, 2 years after that fateful party where my world fell apart, I find myself in a place I never thought I'd reach. I'm in a healthy, loving relationship with Emily. I'm excelling at work. I have a strong support system of friends and family. And most importantly, I've rediscovered myself. The pain of Rebecca's betrayal will always be a part of my story, but it's no longer the defining chapter. Instead, it's become a turning point, the catalyst for growth and self-discovery. To anyone out there going through something similar, I want you to know that there is hope. It won't be easy, and there will be days when you feel like you can't go on, but you can. You're stronger than you know. Take it one day at a time. Seek help when you need it. Allow yourself to feel the pain, but don't let it consume you. And most importantly, remember that someone else's actions don't define your worth. Healing is possible. Trust can be rebuilt. And love, real, honest, faithful love, does exist. You just have to be brave enough to open your heart to it again. As for me, I'm looking forward to writing the next chapters of my life. And for the first time in a long time, I'm excited about what those pages might hold. Those pages might hold. Those pages might hold. Those pages might hold.